Welcome to the Good Place Marionville podcast, dedicated to highlighting the good right here in Marionville, Missouri.
I have a lot of friends that have played sports over the years, but many of them are hopeful that their kids will excel at their favorite game, but very few actually have the ability to make a career out of it. Our guest today is the exception to the rule, and we're looking forward to hearing firsthand about who he is, what makes him tick, and how he continues to be involved in sports, even in his quote-unquote retirement years. Bill Rowe, welcome to the Good Place Marionville podcast.
Hey, great to be here with you, and it's always good anytime I can be back home. This is home. It'll always be home to me.
That's nice. That's nice. And yes, and it's Marionville's becoming a home to us. We've only been here 5 years, but we love it here.
Okay, so this is going to be a lot of fun because we might get to learn some things about you that the listeners today don't know, Bill. So we're really looking forward to that since there is a lot to keep up with on your life. As I've read a little bit about you, it's quite a story. But let's start back with your childhood. Did you grow up in Marionville?
I grew up a mile and a half from here, just directly south.
Okay.
In the Buck Prairie, that was a community, that's what it's named. And that was a church that, frankly, my mother played the piano there for 52 years. So I said, I went there for 17 and a half years because she carried me for 9 months.
There you go.
There too. But the houses are close together in that neighborhood out there, and it was just a great place. Of course, I knew lots of kids. It was heavily populated in that area with families, with kids. We all went to school, obviously. Then we together, and then we were in church together too. So it was really a win-win deal both ways. We felt like.
Well, I imagine it was heavily populated because back then families were large because there was a lot of work to do and you need a lot of kids to take care of all that stuff.
No, they didn't believe me. My older sister and I accused my parents later on. I said, we were your little slaves because, we had dairy cows. He only had an 8th grade education. So jobs were always, either he worked with orchards, a variety of people with labor, but we traded labor with, that was just the trend then to be able to do it. That was the case, but I was born in the house. My older sister and me were both born in the house that's still there.
Wow.
I regret to tell you, I hate to even drive by there, though, because it's just not in the same. I knew it was going to be in the same shape it was when we went away until I went to college. And even we commuted because of lack of funds for a good year and a half with 4 other people from this area every day back and forth to school. But my older sister and me were both born there, so it's really the way that we loved growing up. Had wonderful parents, great neighbors, relatives, but everybody really kind of cared for each other.
Yeah, I imagine we know that you could take any old building and bring it back to life. It just takes a little bit of money.
You found out.
So back then, running water in the house back when you grew up?
Yes.
All right. And toilets in the house?
Negative.
That was out back.
No. The baths were in a big barrel out where we cooled water with the milk. Canada, that's the same barrel that we took our baths in. It was great if we get to go to my mom's sisters in Aurora because they both had bathrooms. So we would take baths in there every time we were there, frankly.
So for those of you who were buying milk back then, 80 plus years ago,
rinsed it out, right?
If it had a funny taste to it, that was just a little Bill left in the barrel. That's right.
And everybody else we had, it was a great place to grow up. We knew the milk hauler.
Yeah.
Jerry Hillhouse had a big influence on my life. He was already in college, and I'd known him, watched him play, but his dad had the milk route.
Right.
To Carnation over at Mount Vernon. And I got to where as I got older, I would ride the route with Jerry when I knew him and get to learn about what he's doing. He was in college and all this stuff.
Right. All right. So what year did you graduate from high school?
1957.
From Marionville High School?
Yes.
When that was downtown, or that was like at the old campus, right? And
Right. One building was there, plus the gymnasium. And then they had a house that was the home for home economics, and then the bottom level of that was the cafeteria. You had to leave the main building, but all 12 grades were in there. It stayed that way until I was in 3rd grade, and they built a building that's just been demolished within the past year from 3rd grade through the 6th grade. And then when you went to junior high, you went back in the big building. Right. It was a 2 or 3 story building there.
Right. So how big was your class? Like, how many kids were in your class?
28. I looked at this. Oddly enough, I come to a little reunion on the first Friday of every month when I can, and Ruth Smart, her name's Hopkins, she brought some yearbooks and looked through there. Well, mine was in the 1st grade, we had 43 people in first grade in my class.
Oh,
Yet we graduated with 28, and I was, where'd everybody go? But that's just the way it was.
Sure. Wow.
So you're working on a farm. I know there wasn't a lot of time back then for just messing around, playing down at the lake, riding your bikes places. You were busy as kids. How did you find out that you liked sports?
Well, I'd play. Some of the neighborhood guys had talked a little bit about playing on that team that they were trying to formulate at Aurora. I was there on part of one little summer, and that was literally 4 miles from my house, going straight west toward Aurora. But it was that was the beginning. And then when I was 12, the only way I can remember, the age limit for Little League Baseball was 12. If you were 13 before August the 1st, you couldn't play. Right. So we got to play the 1 year, and I was in heaven. It was the greatest thing I'd had. And Marionville had one team, Aurora had two, Aurora had three, and Mount Vernon had two.
Okay.
That we met guys that I still communicate with during my adult life. That we won the league that year because we only had one team, but we had some good players. But once that started, and then thereafter, I had to play the baseball at Aurora, in Pony League, American Legion, and in Van Johnson as I got up when I graduated from high school, I was still doing it. But,
so was baseball like your sport?
No, I liked all of them. In small school, you participate in everything, but we didn't have a baseball field, and that's why I was so proud when they passed this deal out here, and they kind of planned to help on that I wanted to jump in on the football. But no, I liked them all, and almost every guy would participate, but but I was able to play it. In fact, they sent me a video the other day of a young man that I happened to be down there the other night watching the game, pardon me, and Cash made a 99-yard touchdown run. Well, then these guys sent me some neighborhood deal of some sort that told Roger Young, who was my teammate, he was a senior when I was a junior, and I was a quarterback and he was a running back. I handed the ball off to him, and he went 99 yards. So he was the best high school athlete I was ever even around, but I had no idea he had done 199 yards, but I was here to watch the one the other night, so I've got to see both of them in my career.
That's so awesome.
But was 199 and a half yards and 99? I mean, whose was longer?
It only sticks with the even. 99.
Even amount.
Yeah, and that's then the other thing, when my freshman year in high school is when the new gymnasium was built. So that would have been whatever the fall of 54, I guess.
Yep.
But anyway, the one that was there before, the ceiling was like plasterboard, and it was so low, shots would hit the ceiling.
So did you plan it?
You learned to ricochet.
We had first game I ever played was in fifth grade, and then we had little youth teams that we just played there among ourselves. But even my felt, but the high school guys would hit it a lot.
Oh, my word.
But anyway, they demolished that, and the other one was ready to go. Brought in a brand new coach, a guy named Al Hauser that was just terrific. His wife's in the Methodist home over here. I stop and see her every now and then, and he was our coach for everything. He was boys football, basketball, and track, because we didn't have baseball.
Wow. Okay, so after high school, what direction did you take, and why did you decide to go that way?
Well, I knew that the coaches took us up to games at SMS at the time, as it was called then. Okay. That was the school, but it was just the biggest thing I'd ever seen. I thought the stadium was like been there forever, and it had been there 17 years. And now that I look back, that was built by WPA back in the 1940s, and then McDonald Arena was built as the main arena that served as a lighthouse for basketball for years, and played in there until literally 15 years ago. The Bears moved over to the Hammond Student Center in 1976, but it was just the thing to do. And then Jerry Hillhouse that I mentioned before, he took me up a time or two just to show me around, and I was just hooked.
Okay.
But money was very, very hard when I got out of school, and the only thing I had is what I could make. And believe me, we worked summer besides playing the baseball at night. You're doing labor in the daytime, but wages were terrible. My freshman year, I drove a delivery vehicle for Shelton's office supply in Springfield, and 75 cents an hour is what I got. Mm-hmm. But 5 of us rode back and forth. I think we paid like $1 a week to John McKinley from Aurora, who had the car that drove it. But that's kind of how it works. But that's how I got.
But 75 cents an hour back then, when that was pretty good money then, wasn't it? I mean, that was.
It's relative because
It is.
the gas was like 19.9. No, I do remember that. The lowest I've ever seen was 17.9 cents a gallon out at Smalley Station out here on the south edge of town.
Wow.
That says a lot, though. You actually earned your way
Oh, yeah.
through college
And I had to tell
and
that
had to work very hard at that, didn't you?
Yeah, they gave me everything I could want. My parents were wonderful, loving parents, but the money was it was too limited. You got a milk check every 2 weeks and then whatever dad could make. But I don't know if in my dad's lifetime if he made more than, say, $1.50 an hour. And he died in 1979, and retired before that. But it was just, they did what they could, but I couldn't ask for a better environment to grow up in with two loving sisters. And the church was a big deal with that with us.
Yeah.
I owe as much of my success to the school and to Buck Prairie Baptist Church than anything in my life.
That's so important.
Yeah.
So I want to continue on this little path that we're on. So did you ever imagine, now you did a lot of higher education and you that looked in a lot of different forms, but did you ever imagine that you were going to end up your career at MSU?
Well, not once I got into it, then because they had very little help, and I volunteered to just do what I could. And initially, the first year, I never got one penny for doing it, but I knew I wanted to do it, and I got to go on some road trips. Of course, there's meals involved. You got that.
What was that you were doing at the beginning?
Well, I was assisting. Literally whatever they need, a gopher, for lack of a better term. You did what was there. You helped in track meets. You had to set up the track deals. You set up tables for the basketball games from concessions. And then each year you did more. They gave you more responsibility, but we just didn't have a lot of help. When I started coaching baseball in 1964, I never did have an assistant. And I coached through 1982, and our teams made it to 4 College World Series at the Division II level, and the only assistants I ever had were people that needed another semester or two to graduate, and they would have them help if they were pitchers that would help, or infielders or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what did it. And the more I did, the more you could. So when I finished the degree, I had an Army. I'd already joined the Army, and then I go for the pre-induction, and then I get this notice I'm 1Y, and I thought, well, what I have.
Okay, now remember that this audience that's listening, some of them are older and some of them are younger, so they don't know some of them don't know what 1Y means.
Well, I didn't either. I did this. The draft was so rampant at the time that I just wanted to go get the military over, so I joined. My favorite uncle on my dad's side was a career military, and I'd kind of grown up with him spoiling all of us when he would come in on furlough. But I go take the pre-induction, and I get this notice that I'm 1Y, so I had to go to Aurora, and I had to ask, what is 1Y? I said, well, there's a physical deal. Let me look. Well, they said, you have a hernia. And I said, well, okay. What? But I said, well, your deal has been extended to age 35. But I didn't even know I had it. It wasn't hurting. So I was
saying, those athletics, you never knew you had a hernia.
No, no. But I soon, I got to take part of that back. I'd had one hernia, and it had been fixed the vacation of my freshman year in December 1957. So I said, no, I had it fixed. They said, well, you got another one then. Well, I didn't even know I had it. Wow. Well, so I was without a job, and but because of the work I had done, they hired me on a supply basis for, I'll never forget it, $4,250 for the 9 months. That's what I got. And but you can't feel sorry for yourself, because Coach Thomas was named a head coach 2 years later when Coach Matthews died, our basketball coach, and his salary was $9,000 a year. So it was relative. I was doing as good as anybody else, and but anyway, that's what got me into it.
Wow.
So in your career as athletic director, you seem to have pioneered a whole bunch of ideas and improvements at Missouri State. What drove you to work so hard for the athletic program, which is now an extensive athletic program?
Well, I loved it. I was consumed. I'll never forget. I had an aunt here, my mom's brother's wife, and even when we'd finish work or something, I'd tell my cousin, her son, Richard, I want you to have football with me or basketball, whatever. And she said, is that all you ever think about is ball? I would love to see my Aunt Opal right now to say, well, It's done okay. It made a
Yeah.
great life for me, and I love doing it. But I just,
They're different kind of balls. There's little balls,
Yeah.
there's big balls, there's kind of oblong kind of balls. You just say it's not just one kind of ball.
and the key to that is after the war ended, I don't remember the year, but it was had to be around 45, 46. So I'm 6, 7, 8 years old. Pardon me. And my Uncle Albert, my dad's youngest brother, was at Fort Benning, Georgia, where he gets shipped back to. Well, they had all this surplus stuff left over, and they're burning it. But they allowed them to do it. So suddenly we get this gigantic box, or I thought it was huge, that said we had to go pick it up at the post office. And he had sent one softball, one baseball, badminton rackets, nets,
Wow.
catcher's mitt, ring toss, and it lasted forever. It was made out of the good leather.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And we
real
used
stuff.
it forever. So
It was
my
like
older sister and me, we were hitting with a badminton racket. We were hitting rocks, throwing them up and hitting them.
They
Didn't even know how to do it.
it.
But anyway, but it's just been there. But I've made time to do other things, but it has been my driving force, as I told him to say, that it created a wonderful life for me and relationships that I have. I know when I retired, they had a nice event for me, and I said if I had to pick one word to take in everything that we've accomplished here, it is relationships. Because when I was a business manager, you get to where you know every season ticket holder because they're coming every year, football, basketball, to buy them. They had businesses in town. You know them, and then you just keep spreading out. Then my players, I had. Now when we started getting my players' kids back, I knew we had to be doing things right, or you don't send your kids somewhere where they had a bad experience.
Right.
That's right.
So it all has been a big, big deal. But I said the one word's relationships. That's the key to, I think, the success that, besides my background in church and in the school system here in Marionville.
Oh, that's such a good word and such a good example to be setting for other people, because it is really the relationships that matter. No matter what title you had at any point in time, those relationships really matter. Okay, so I want to talk about this because a lot of people stop making impact when they retire, but you have kept on going. And it's been quite a few years since you graduated from Marionville High School, but recently you made a beautiful gift to the school. So tell us why
To the entire city.
Yeah, well, yes, to the entire city, the whole community. But tell us why you did that, and tell us, how that all happened.
Well, obviously, and I said some of the same stuff this morning. Ironically, I told you we'd tape for that deal coming up.
Yes.
But initially, it's like everybody else. You don't have anything extra. But as I got older, we put money back for the kids' education because I didn't want them to go through what I had to go through and go on a shoestring and barely be able to do that. And do with that. Never had a car, and all my buddies from high school were married, had kids, and I still drive a 1940 Chevrolet. But the more you get, then I had some opportunities to make some investments through a couple of friends. Bill Barkley had the Automagic car washes in Springfield. He was on the board of governors himself, but he was on the board of a bank, and they were going public, and it was $9 a share. And he came and told me, said, "Look, you got to get involved in this." Well, it so happened Missouri switched retirement systems at that time. And I said, "Well, no, I want that just to roll over into the new one." They said, "Well, we've already done that, but you've been paying in since 1962, and that was 1989.
Okay.
So he said, "You've got that, but it was 42,000. I'll never forget. He said, we think you can do more with your own money. You're allowed to take you still got your retirement deal here." So I took that and spent 3/4 of it on the Great Southern stock at $9 a share, and it's no big secret. I mean, I don't mind telling. But then in about 3 years, it was $48 a share.
It's a pretty good return on
good
ROI.
So it split 3 for 1. So then the amount I had, I think it wound up being a little over 3,000 shares, suddenly went to 9,000 shares. And then on down the road, a few more years, it split again 2 for 1. So now it became 20,000 shares. So that's just kind of how the deal works.
But a lot of people, when they've been blessed with something like that, have decisions to make. And you made a decision to give back to Marionville. And that's huge. Why did you do that?
Well, again, going back to my days out at Buck Prairie, there was a guy that came in. He was a Navy veteran, a late convert, and he came in to do, at that time, you had 2-week revivals. I mean, it's every night of the week.
Right.
So we're there every one of them. But it was the summer before I was going to college, and he preached on tithing one night, and then I listened as I always did, but I thought, how am I going to do that? I've got barely enough to pay my $26.50 of tuition, and plus riding back and forth, all this stuff. But so I told him about it, and I said, it bothers me because I know it's right, and I want to do that. But he said, let me think about it a little bit. So the next day, we were talking again about it, and he said, here's the thing. I think you need to try it with what you have. And hey, if it doesn't work and you just can't survive, obviously you got to switch back. But in that case, he said, I don't know, but I have a feeling the good Lord's going to know that you did the best you could. Well, so I tried it, and I've never stopped. And that's not a braggadocio deal. It's just the fact of what's multiplied.
Right? That's the miracle of tithing. We could have a whole conversation about that. We probably will on one of our other podcasts. But yeah, that formula, 100% minus 10% still equals 100%. Yeah. That's one of those God formulas.
And now I never in my wildest dreams thought we could do what we did here. But once they passed the election here, it was a continuation. It wasn't a new tax. Right? And I told some of my friends at the alumni deal, I said, hey, let's get behind that. And they said, well, I said, because I understand they're going to do a child development center with the money,
right,
and finally build a softball field for the girls,
right,
and a baseball field that we've never had.
Right.
Only the park board down here at town, and they were able to do it. Marionville even won a state title playing there.
Right.
And I said, if they do that, we can, and that'll help if we need to help. Well, that thing passed. So the football field is a good one. But I also know that you got to treat your grass all year long. You've got to cut it. You've got to do weed eaters. You've got to put fertilizer. You've got to mow it. Poor coaches have to go out and do the marketing of the field themselves. I've been there and done that when I did it at SMS at the time. And I thought, something that we could do, everybody's going artificial turf, and I knew it was going to be expensive. And I've been different. When I refereed for 26 years, I was on a lot of different types of fields, and state championships in St. Louis and their turf and all that. But it's really improved so good that I ran down to Northwest Arkansas with Coach Grubbs and Coach Young here. They rode with me to just look at they have some great layouts there. The company is one of them is based out of there in Atlanta. And I liked what I saw, and I knew the stuff had kept getting better. That I think we can just do this. So I asked for a meeting with the two of them, the superintendent and the board president, and told them that. And I know you don't have the money, and that's the reason you'll never get one unless somebody does this, because what monies they get got to go to the academic ends, and they've done as good as they could with the field. But I said, we can do this, and I know we're going to excavate. You've got to put in drainage systems. You got to get rid of rocks, the whole ball of wax. But once you get it done, it's going to be a great thing, and nobody will have any better facilities than Marionville for a 1A school. And so got it done a week ahead of the first practice.
I was just going to say, and you got to see that come to life this fall when it was dedicated, and now our team is playing on that, and we're going to announce a little bit about where we're at with all of that with our team for this year. But what a great gift you gave to this community, and what a boost, just to feel so good about the field and the all of the accessories and the amenities around the football field are so wonderful. It's just fun to see how the community builds that all together.
So you're a sports hero. Did your kids get into sports?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And what about your grandkids? You got grandkids? They're probably, grandkids in sports?
The grandson, I only have one grandson and two granddaughters, but they all played in the youth deals and all that. But the daughter played some in high school. Son Jeff did not play, but is an enthusiast because they've been with us through this whole deal. So they know all the players, they know this and that. But the grandson is a godsend because we chased him around for about 8 straight summers, and then he's pitched in Cape Girardeau the last 2 summers. Had to get a medical red shirt last year, dislocated a kneecap on the left knee, but made the team again. They were out this fall, and he's on the 32-man roster for the Bears. He was a redshirt freshman, so he has this year plus 3 to be able to play. But they're my family, my wife, my sisters, lots of friends that we have. They center around going to these athletic events. So it's really, really good.
That's awesome.
But the other thing I told him that night on my remarks that they've got warranties on these surfaces now. And this is the best there is. This is a top grade. I didn't take the cheapest route. We took the best one. But the beauty of it is no more having to do the excavation. The drainage system's in. It soaks through. The water goes out. The exit's at the end of the field. But if you could pay a little more and go from an 8-year warranty to a 12-year. And as I told him, I know I'll not be around for that 12th year, but it's there. And it's extended, so it's that many more. So we've got up.
So the kindergartners know they're still going to have good turf when they're seniors. So, okay, I guess I can say that you bleed blue like a true comet, in addition to the MSU colors, right?
Yep.
But do you have any words of encouragement that you would share with this current generation of students that are at Marionville right now?
I tried to say something that night over the remarks. There's so many things that people can do, and people help volunteer and take care of the fields and did that type of stuff. And they volunteer for concession stands, but there's just certain things. I don't care if it's speech and debate, they've got travel costs involved. The agriculture kids have judging contests. I was in VOAG myself here. There's so many other extra things that are not able to be completed with budgetary constraints or restraints that they have going on, but there's just things that you can do. I don't care if it's just can we do so and so, but ask permission, and you can't say maybe you need new benches, or maybe they need a new high jump pit, maybe they need a new corral if they're using somebody's on having to pay rent. There's so many things that can be done. I know we've helped in the past if they've had to go long distance for playoffs. I wanted to go on a commercial bus and not yellow and have to ride 4 hours to go up north central Missouri. So you can do that. We put goalposts in years ago that I understand now they took the old ones, gave those to Crane because we got new goalposts attached with this one.
Yep.
And they're pro style, so they're going to be here. And then I know Jim Smart put in about a 4-lane running track, and a bunch of people provided that years ago. And when I found out, I said, Jim, I want to get involved too. But everybody can do something.
Giving back.
You may maybe a meal you can buy for a team once a year.
Yep.
Out at Alice Irene's or where they want to go, or uptown for pizza. But you just got to keep your eyes open. But the joy that you can have from doing it, although you may think it's too small, no, it's not. Nothing is ever too small. We still continue to support Buck Prairie Church out here, and they've been able to finally put some concrete driveways in. We said it's yours to do what you need to keep the improvements going. Yep. They put those in, some stone benches with names we gave them a list of names that meant a lot to us years ago that were senior adults at the time, but made a great impression on all of our lives. But the feeling you get is just too good to pass up, in my opinion. And I've done the same thing at the university. We do it for our church. We're involved up there, but there's just other things. And up when you're my age, the RMD, they tell you how much you're taking out of your IRAs every year.
There you go.
You're going to be taxed on it. You may not want to spend it. Fine, leave it in there, but you're going to pay tax. Well, we would rather give it away.
That's right.
As to do the other. And I will never cease feeling that way. And my kids and my grandkids already been trained the same way. They've got college funds established for them that they know they can't touch till they finish high school. Well, two of them, one's already out of college and one's in, and another one's going to be next year. But they don't frivolously throw away the money. They know it's hard earned, but they are learning also that's what they need to do with their schools, their churches, their libraries, whatever it may take to get it done.
And we have phenomenal schools in town. And Bill,
really,
we're grateful for your huge investment in our schools. Our schools attract people from all over the state. They come here because they love Marionville schools.
I love that you're blessing other people. And you know what? Another way that we are all blessed is by this episode of the Good Place Marionville podcast being sponsored by the Bank of Billings. The Bank of Billings really has been a pillar in this community for more than 135 years. Now, that can make us all feel real young, knowing how long they've been around. But thank you, Bank of Billings, for your banking expertise and for your community support. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
And keeping with the theme of this episode and also football season that we're in, big news for Friday night this week as the Comets head deeper into the playoffs. Get ready to support the Comets as they travel to Louis Bozeman?
Louis Bozeman
Field?
Yep.
Bill, help
You
me
probably
out.
know.
It's normally pronounced Louis, but it's really
Okay.
Lewis where you got it. That's right.
That's the way it was given to me. So
And
we
they're
both
playing.
know.
That's right. Comets are playing Thayer for their game against the Thayer Bobcats this Friday night. The next level of the playoffs. You'll be able to listen.
Yeah, so the pregame starts at 6:30 with kickoff at 7. And for those of you that cannot travel, this is great news that there is coverage that you can get live on AM 940. Download and listen for free on the KSWM app or radiotalon.com. And I'll put all that in the show notes for you so you can stay connected and listen to the game live.
There's Thayer is the toughest opponent. That really, last year I thought Marionville had to play in a district playoff game that was a state championship. They had to play each other, and they proved it. That team won the state that barely beat them. Thayer, it's every year almost. It's between Marionville and them in the end. We've beaten them here, lost down there, won there, and all this stuff.
Sure.
But they're tough again this year. I was in West Plains on Monday on another benefit deal we're trying to help with, and it's like 20 miles on past West Plains to get there. But they've got good players, but it's an honor to be playing them, and they too. They're respecting Marionville very, very much. I've got friends that have had grandkids go there, and they love them. But what a great thing to back this week. And I get my calls on text every week. If I can't come, coaches let me know what's going on in the game. So I'll be listening this one.
All right, everybody tune in.
Hey, thank you, Bill Rowe, for being our guest today on the Good Place Marionville podcast. Great to have you here today. And thanks for being a great role model of generosity and school spirit, for showing us how important our roots can be. Thank you also to the Bank of Billings for sponsoring today's podcast. You too could become a sponsor. Contact us at goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com, goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com.
And remember, you can report good news by that same email at goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified when each episode releases.
Thanks for joining us for the Good Place Marionville podcast. Keep your eyes out for the good. Tell us about it, and together we could celebrate Marionville.